Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Psychosin Project here on YouTube. Today is the beginning of Fear Factory month, because obviously they have released their new album Genexus, which is the album I'm going to be reviewing for you today. Now, as you may have noticed already, there is no video on this video today, unfortunately. I was all prepared to actually go and record the video and all that to do this review. Then I realised that my laptop had decided it didn't want to recognise the camera anymore. So it's going to be a bit of a slideshow with me narrating over the top for this review and for the foreseeable future until I can either get my laptop to actually work and decide that it has got a camera plugged into it, or buy a new camera and hopefully that will get round the problem. But anyway, yes, I am reviewing the brand new album by Fear Factory today called Genexus. And I'm going to admit straight away I am a huge Fear Factory fan, so however, don't think that means I'm going to give it like massively higher scores or anything just for the one fact that it's Fear Factory. They have done one or two albums that even I, as a massive devoted Fear Factory fan, have found to be not that great. I'll get into that a bit later, maybe in the conclusion, but I thought, you know, full sort of I can't think of the word now, but you know, full disclosure, there we go. Yes, I do have a Fear Factory tattoo. I do play them on every radio show I do. I talk about them quite a lot as well, and I'll go and see them on every UK tour they do. But even not every band is perfect, and Fear Factory has had a few dodgy ones. Hopefully, this new album won't join the dodgy ranks in the album stakes, but we'll get on to that later. Right, let's get into this. Oh, and if I sound a bit off, it's because I'm still recovering from the flu at the moment. But anyway, let's get straight into this, starting with the first track. 9 albums in, and Fear Factory still know exactly how to open an album perfectly. It starts with the usual sort of epic sound before the double kick drums kick in, and we're into classic, almost demanufactured style guitar riffing and drumming. Yes, they are using a live drum on this album, and I don't know why so many people complained about with the Industrialist where they use a drum machine, but there we go, people will be people and they will complain about whatever the hell they can. But it does add another layer to the sound on this. It's another absolutely superb opener. In fact, I don't think I've heard a Fear Factory album where the first track hasn't been always on point and gives you quite a good sort of feeling about how the rest of the album's going to sound. But yeah, this is an absolutely superb album. Hopefully this is what they're going to be using to open up their live shows as well. Excellent, like, little sort of recalls in the sound to demanufacture and obsolete, even with a little bit of more recent albums like Mechanized in there as well. So all in all, couldn't ask for a better opener to this album. On to the next track. The second track on the album is called Anodized, and this is another candidate for a possible future single. This is what really shows that Burton Bell has got his vocal force really like fully back, because it was coming back on Industrialist, and Mechanized, but on this one he's really coming back like full on with his fantastic singing, even better and clearer than ever than the previous two albums, and his vocals, his actual like his dirty, brutal vocals, even more brutal than ever on this one. And this is a song that when you get to the chorus, you just know you're going to get it stuck in your head. Always had been a master of melodic choruses, Fear Factory, but Burton Bell really brings it on this, and again, it's going to be stuck in your head for hours and hours and hours after you hear it. And also, this is fast becoming a definite cast iron fan favourite, so hopefully this is going to be one they play on the tour. Anyway, on to the next track. Up next is the first proper single being released from the album, Dielectric. Now this starts with a really sort of cinematic, epic violin build up into keyboards, and then the main riff comes crashing in with Burton Bell's awesome vocals over the top. This has a real anthemic quality to it, this song. I can see this being a crowd and set sort of mainstay for a long time. It has a superbly catchy chorus, fantastic riff. There's even a really sort of catchy and almost cinematic quality to the riff itself. as the song goes on. Now, many of you have already heard this and you know what I mean. If you haven't heard this and you're umming and ahhing about the album, go look up the video to this on YouTube. Give this a listen, because this is probably rather a good sort of it's just what's the word I'm trying to think of? Rather a good sort of showing of how the album it sounds all the way through. But we'll get on to that later. I will admit now, I have already listened to the album. I mean, I'm a Fear Factory fan. Of course I'm going to listen to the album the first day it come through. The only reason I didn't get an interview up, not an interview, sorry, a review up on the day it came through, was because I was literally in bed sweating my ass off due to being full of flu. But anyway, honestly, go check this song out and go from there. But hopefully, by the end of this review, you'll also know whether to pick up this album. Anyway, on to the next song. With a beginning shout that's very reminiscent of the Linchpin song back from the Digimortal album, this is Soul Hacker, and this was the very first track released as kind of what's the word? It was the first track, sorry, that the record label released about a month ago, to kind of start getting hype for the album. And I loved it from the minute I first heard it, because this song, many of you would have again already heard it. It's available on YouTube for you to listen to as well. Song has a very sort of bouncy riff, again reminiscent of, say, for example, Linchpin and what's the name? Edge Crusher from the Obsolete album, which is still an absolute classic of a song that they still play live, and hopefully will never stop playing live. But I can see this again being another album. I mean, the way this album's going, it's going to be very hard to compose a set list without just playing the entirety of Genexus, because so far, not one single bad song. And to be honest with you, when I first heard this song, this was the song that really gave me the idea that this is going to be a monster of an album. If the rest of the tracks are as good as this, then I'm going to be very happy. And so far, that's exactly what's happening. Anyway, yeah, go check it out. Soul Hacker. Excellent track on the album. Perfectly sequenced on the album as well as track number 4. Let's move on to the next one. The next track is Protomech. However, before I go into this one, something I forgot to say about the song Soul Hacker. The drummer on that is actually Dean Castronovo from the band Journey. You can hear how that come about if you look on my channel. I had the chance to interview Dino Cazares over Skype a couple of months ago, which was an awesome experience personally for me. Just look on the channel and you'll find it. Listen to that, and he does speak about how the Dean Castronovo ended up drumming on one of the Fear Factory songs. Anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, on to Protomech. Now, this was another track that was released early as sort of hype for the upcoming album, and this starts with, again, an absolutely epic intro, and it has a very, very cinematic qualities for it. Again, I do not understand how Fear Factory have not ended up with at least one soundtrack spot, or just done a full soundtrack for something like a Terminator film. They are so obviously the perfect band to do it, and it just hasn't happened. This is another case of them flexing their chops and really sort of getting to the meat of what made Demanufactured and Obsolete such great albums, while bringing in the heaviness of Mechanized and the melodicness of Digimortal, and coming up with another absolute winner of a song. Again, I can see this being an actual standalone single by itself, and another firm fan favourite. Anyway, we're halfway through the album. Let's get on with it. Up next is the title track, Genexus. Now, this is another absolute rager of a track that's going to really, really get the pits going when played live, if they choose to play it live. I imagine they will. Starts with a very sort of demanufactured drum beat and riff, and then goes into its own thing, with little sort of recalls to the demanufactured sound and Obsolete, and also little sort of sound cues that have been dropped in at the perfect moments that are obviously from Blade Runner, which I have a feeling is what the kind of concept of this album is semi-based on. But anyway, another absolutely superb track that will be even more amazing live, possibly one of the heaviest tracks on the album. Anyway, let's get on with the rest. Up next is Church of Execution. Now, this has a fantastic sort of stop-starty riff that also, when we get to the vocals, you get just the bass line and drums supporting vocals, bringing to mind Edge Crusher once again. But then we get into the chorus itself, and we have an absolutely superb melodic style guitar melody stroke riff, supporting Bertie Bell's call to arms style vocals. It's an absolutely awesome song. Not sure if it's going to be one they choose to play live. Possibly one of the weaker songs on the album, but don't take that as a bad thing, considering how strong the rest of this album's songs actually are. One being slightly less good isn't a bad thing. This is still an absolutely awesome album, and let's face it, absolutely awesome song, I should say. And let's face it, it still kicks like the absolute arse of anything else released by, say, Black Veil Brides or some shite like that. So yes, another absolutely awesome song. Honestly, this album's blowing me away. It really is. I mean, I know I've listened to it before, but I wanted to make sure that it still sort of kept that level of quality that I heard on the first sort of listen through during the second playthrough, which is what I'm doing now. This is my second time listening to the album. I finally got there. For some reason, my brain forgot English in the middle of that sentence. But anyway, so yeah, let's get on with it. Let's get on to the next couple of songs. Up next is the song Regenerate, and holy hell is this an awesome song. I actually forgot about this song. I have no idea how. It's got to be another absolute anthem for any Fear Factory fan. The riffs are there, the heaviness is there, the sort of breakdown into a really, really extremely heavy part is there, and the absolutely superb chorus where it just literally, if you get what I mean when I say this, it lifts off and takes the song into another level. Absolutely love this song, and I can't recommend it enough. Anyway, we've got two more songs left, well, of the album itself. I am actually going to review every track on this, and what I mean by that is I got the special Digipack edition, so there's an extra 2 tracks that I'm going to review as hit well on this review, so you'll know whether or not the Digipack is the version that is worth your money. Spoiler, yes it is. Anyway, let's get on to the next 2 tracks, shall we? Up next, which is track number 9, the penultimate track for the album itself and not the extra tracks, is Battle for Utopia. Now this is probably one of my favourite songs on the album. Now that might seem a bit weird to some people, but there are many reasons for it. For one, it's just an excellent song, and I love what Bertie Bell has done with his clean vocals on this track, because it's not your standard verse, chorus, verse structure that they normally sort of do. On this, he kind of goes for a more understated vocal approach when it comes to the clean vocals. And when it comes to his lyrics on this, I'm going to go a little bit personal here. The reason I love Fear Factory, apart from obviously music's fucking awesome and live, they always kill it, but I have been through some very, very dark shit times, and Fear Factory, their lyrics, Bertie Bell's lyrics, have always helped me through. And one of the songs that used to do that, and still does, was the chorus to Self-Biased Resistor on Demanufacture album. And if you are new to Fear Factory, I would recommend getting Demanufacture as well. That album is one of the good ways to start with Fear Factory. Anyway, we'll go back to that later. But this song is another one that, because I went through another bad patch over the last 5 years. Some of the people who are watching this, who know me personally, know what that is. But the lyrics to this song, for some reason, just it's something that helps me to continue on. And again, the lyrics on this are just absolutely awesome. Bertie Bell, even if the song has never been like the music, and the song has never quite been amazing on other albums, even if the song hasn't been a personal favourite or anything, shall we say, I've never been able to fault Bertie Bell's lyrics, because he is an absolutely master of lyrics, and obviously his vocals are superb as well. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have the sort of quite loud structure to most vocals with the sorry, not the quite loud, sorry, that's Nirvana I'm thinking of there, the heavy vocal into the melodic vocal, which is not an easy thing to do as a vocalist. I've tried, and I can't sing to save my fucking life. So yeah, but just this song especially is one of my favourites, and it really sort of brings you through to the very last song on the album really, really nicely. And let's get on to that song, shall we, before we get into the bonus tracks on the Digipack. And so to the final song of the album, which is, well, of the album itself, not the extra tracks, which is Expiration Date. And I've got to say, this is absolutely stunning. It's a long, slow, epic, really epic, kind of goth-tinged industrial song, with Burton's vocals superbly on point, tinged with melancholy, I suppose is the best way I could put it. And the lyrics are perfect to this. The song itself perfect. This is up there with Final Exit and A Therapy for Pain. Again, Fear Factory have just nailed it with an absolutely superb and emotional closing song. Also, again, great use of quotes from, well, they basically quote most of the speech by Roy Batty at the end of Blade Runner, which is one of my personal favourite speeches from any film ever. And if you don't know what the speech is that I'm on about, you need to see Blade Runner, that's all I'm going to say. And also, at the end of the keyboards, as they're going out, there's a slight, very sneaky and cheeky hint to the Terminator theme as well, which I noticed. But honestly, absolutely great way to close the album. However, that's the main album. We have 2 bonus tracks to get into, so let's get into them, shall we? The first of the bonus tracks on the Digipack edition is the Mandatory Sacrifice track, which is a remix of Genexus by Ministry frontman Al Jurgensen. Now, what he's done here, he's actually managed to make the sound of the track even heavier. I got there in the end, and for some reason this reminded me a bit of his earlier work with when he started Revolting Cocks. So all in all, though, it's a very good remix. Not really much I can say because it is a remix. Not really much you can say about remixes, but all in all, out of generally the remix I've heard of Fear Factory stuff, it's definitely in the much better than usual camp. The second of the 2 bonus tracks, and indeed the last track on the album, the Digipack edition, is called Enhanced Reality. Sorry, I've completely forgot for a moment what it was called. Now, this is another epic closer, and I'll be honest, if I'm happy they chose Expiration Date as the official album closer, I wouldn't mind if they chose this. This one is just as high in quality. There's a definite sort of The Cure meets Killing Joke circa the Nighttime album feel to this song, and it's absolutely superb. Again, Bouncy Bell's vocals just fit in the mood absolutely perfectly, and again, it would have been perfect as an album ender, and essentially it is on the Digipack, but not in the sequence of the actual proper album, if you get what I mean by that. Anyway, it's definitely well worth listening to. So what do I think of the album? We'll find out in a minute. So, it's been 3 years since The Industrialist, and here we have it, Genexus, the newest album by Fear Factory. Now, you've heard what I've said about the songs individually, but what do I think of the album as a whole? Well, I love it. Absolutely love it. Not one single bad track on there. Not even the bonus tracks on the Digipack edition. You know what? I'm just going to call it. I'm going to say this. I'm calling it. It's album of the year. For me personally, this is album of the year. It's going to take something absolutely goddamn special to beat this album for me. I mean, I know, obviously I explained I'm a huge Fear Factory fan anyway, but even if I wasn't, this album is just everything you could possibly want from a band. It's got catchy choruses, amazingly heavy riffs, superb metal songs and anthems, a great closer, a fantastic remix by Al Jurgensen on the Digipack edition. Just everything you could possibly want for an album is on this album, apart from any shite stuff, obviously. And I'm also going to say this is going to be my controversial statement, as it were, in quotation marks. This is the best album Fear Factory have made. I personally think this just beats Demanufacture myself. And it's not often you can say this about a band, but Fear Factory have done it. They have made 2 absolute cast iron masterpieces of metal music, industrial metal music. But even without the industrial metal, this is an absolute high point of their career and for metal itself, and indeed music. Try not to hype this up too much because obviously I don't want to sound like a complete twat, but honestly for me this is absolutely awesome. This is better than I could have even expected. I mean, I was excited for this album since I heard Soul Hacker when they first released that as part of the hype. And then they released Proto Mech, I love that. Then they released Dielectric, and I was like, right, this album is going to be good, but I didn't realise it was going to be this goddamn good. If you're new to Fear Factory, this is an absolutely superb album to start with, and then work your way back. Yeah, this is even better than Demanufacturing. Demanufacturing was a hard album to beat, and I've got to be honest to you, Fear Factory guys, well done, but you have got a hell of a job on your hands to beat this album. Absolute goddamn masterpiece, and if I don't see it at least in the top 5 of all the magazine and Metal Fansy's top 10 of the year, something's wrong with the world. I'll just say that, and I hope this pushes them to even further success, because they are a band that I've always felt should be at least a little bit bigger than they are. They've had some setbacks, they've come back full force with one of the best albums of 2015, if not the last 5 years. So yeah, Fear Factory, Genexus, pick it up. It's a full-on 5 out of 5 from me. Fuck it, 7 out of 5. That's how good this is. I will stop going on now, because I am probably sounding like an absolute fanboy, and I am. But even if this album wasn't that great, I would call them out on it, because it's harder to please a hardcore fan if you're in a band than it is to please someone who might be new to the band. And I love this. I'm sure many people will debate my points on this, but honestly, this is superb. To me, this is the album that I think they wanted to do when they done Digimortal. Because here's the thing, as proof that I'm not just a complete Fear Factory fanboy twat. Well, I am a twat and I am a Fear Factory fan, but, you know. I was never a big fan of Transgression. I could see what they were doing, but a lot of the songs on there seemed half-formed. And going back to Digimortal now, it's not as good as I remember it being. But we'll get to that. I hope you've enjoyed this inaugural video of Fear Factory Month. Over the next 3-4 weeks, I am going to be going and reviewing every single Fear Factory album up to Genexus. Won't be doing Genexus, obviously that's what this video was for, but hopefully you'll stick with me. I'll be doing other reviews of other stuff as well, so it's not going to be just Fear Factory centric for a month. I'll be doing the usual reviews of signed and unsigned bands as well, and upcoming albums and albums already released, along with any future interviews I managed to snag myself. Alright, thank you very much for listening. I am sorry there's no video on this video. I'll try and get that sorted. Hopefully I can get my camera fixed or something. Feel free to donate and help me create more videos and get a better laptop, etc. to continue bringing you more videos and more content for the channel, along with helping me get to gigs and that to do the interviews, because for me to get to London, it's not cheap, and unfortunately that's where most of the bands that I tend to interview tend to be, which is a bit of an annoyance. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.
I turn to face